All right, welcome. Today we are here with Mr. Mark and Biletnikoff is how you say it. Would you say it was
Correct.
like
Yep.
the famous what?
Famous football player from the Raiders.
I don't watch football, so I couldn't even tell you. But um,
Just,
so
I mean, he's no big deal. Just a Hall of Famer, Super Bowl MVP. Yeah, no big deal.
I couldn't tell you any football players, man. I don't watch football.
Cool.
I played in high school, but besides that,
Yeah,
um,
cool.
so I think I discussed a little bit with you. We're doing these interviews just to kind of get people, to have a little bit more insight into the coaches with fast tracks and get to know us a little bit better and our background and whatnot. And just something to try to set us apart from, some of the other organizations and stuff. So one of the first questions I always ask is, what got you into riding motorcycles? What's the story there?
Um, as a growing up, my dad, he always had a motorcycle. Like he always had some kind of sort of something, some kind of shadow or something, nothing crazy. And my first vehicle, so I was always intrigued by motorcycles, but I always rode with him as a kid. He's like, hey, we're gonna get on the motorcycle. So I would sit on the back, we'd have these shiny black 8-ball helmets, and I just always, because like dad did it, so I just thought it was kind of cool. And then I was 15, getting ready to be 16, and time to start thinking about a car and driving and everything like that. I was working for my dad full time. He owned a landscape business, so it was like, again, working, always had money in my pocket. But then dad was like, hey, I got one of my old bikes I had, like this doctor, I sold to this doctor and he's not using it. I talked to him. I thought maybe we'd buy it and then you could have some wheels for the summer, and I was like, okay, because my birthday's in the summer. I was like, all right, cool. How much? It was like $350. It was a Yamaha 350 RD. It was a Screamer 2-stroke.
Nice.
Um, this thing was sitting in this guy's garage for like 10 years. I vaguely remember the bike. Like I said, I'm 16, so 10. I remember him having this thing, and he probably traded it, and traded it again, and then sold it, and then bought something else, and so he had a chance to buy it back because he started doing some work for this guy, and so my dad paid the money. I worked it off, paid it off, and so yeah, that was my first bike. This thing was like mint, had like maybe 3,000 miles on it. It was the orange with chrome. It was an original color Yamaha 350 RD, 1975. So I was born in 74. So, just a little hint there. I thought it was kind of nostalgia there.
Nice.
Rode that thing. I mean, I rode the wheels off that thing. I rode it year round. We live up here in the Northeast, in Erie, Pennsylvania. We get a ton of snow. And that
You
was
rode
like,
it year round.
I rode it year round. Like literally, if it was snowing and as long as there wasn't ice on the ground, like I rode it. I mean, I was hardcore. I just wore gloves, dressed up, didn't have full face helmet either. Like, so it was hardcore. Yeah, it was like legit. Like I remember one day I went to school. So it was like fall. Cause I drove for like the whole next year. Um, I went to school. It was probably 70 degrees when I got there, and by 3 o'clock, there was like a foot of snow outside. This poor bike, I left it on the side of the building where I would park it so no one mess with it or screw with it or tip it over or anything like that. And I think just stayed there in the snow. I came outside and I was like, oh man. So I hopped on the bus, went home. That bike sat there for like 5-6 days in just the snow, no cover on it, no nothing. Yeah, and then finally got it. And I mean, I had a couple scary moments riding that thing. Like I said, year round, like I had a couple scary moments, like hitting some black ice. Maybe coming into a parking lot to get some gas or something. The front wheel washes out a little and then you kind of catch it. Yeah, that bike, I mean, it always ran though. It was fun. And then, like I said, it was pretty quick too for a 352 stroke. I mean, when it hit the power band, it went.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. So
But I
from
was I was hardcore. So that was, like I said, my first bike, and I kept that thing. But then I ended up selling it because I got a car, and the car was just bleeding me dry with like problems. I kept blowing head gaskets on it and stuff like that. So I got the car because I needed a down payment for the car. I bought a brand new car at 17 years old. My mom co-signed on it. So it was like we put some money down, and then the payment was manageable and stuff. But then I traded to the guy, and then like a year later, because I had always had a pretty decent job. I was working tool and die and stuff in machine shops. So like coming out of high school, I had money. And I wanted to buy the bike back from the guy that I sold it to, because I sold it to the guy I worked with at the shop. And he was like, oh yeah, well maybe, you know. And then he was like, yeah, come on over. And I went over to the house, and he had this thing sitting in like one of those old metal sheds that had a leaky roof. It was just dripping all over. This thing was like all rusty, all destroyed. The seat was torn. I'm like, dude, like I gave you a bike that I would polish 3 times a week. And he just destroyed this thing. And like now those things are like collector's items, you know. This thing's probably worth 2-3 times what it was brand new off the floor. And I was just so disappointed. So that kind of crushed that dream. And then I was like looking at bikes, and my dad kind of got the like, because I'd still worked with him a little bit on summers and stuff like that. And we went to like Forest Park Honda, go to some of the local motorcycle shops, and he would see me looking at the cafe bikes at the time, you know, the crotch rockets. And my dad's like, don't you even think about it. Don't you even think of bringing one of those home. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean, you know? And so it was kind of like one of those things, but I was like, yeah, okay. And because I mean, you see them, and I had friends that had bikes, and I was like, oh man, that's just like, I just dreamed about it all the time. So then finally I found a guy that had a bike for sale. It was like old school in the newspaper. Like that's how old I am, like in the classifieds. I saw a Honda Hurricane, which is the F, you know, the F1 basically.
Yeah,
so it was a Hurricane F. And it was a red, white, and blue, looked like Captain America. And so I called the guy. I ended up going over there. I took a look at it, and he wanted like, I don't know, something 2,000 maybe, or something, 2,500 or something like that. And I was like, let me think about it. The bike was super clean. He was buying something else. He was moving up. He wanted to get a bigger bike. So I went home, I thought about it. I had the money, called the guy back, and I said, hey, I'm going to pick this thing up. I'll get my check Friday. I'm a little short on money. I gave him $500 down. I came and picked that thing up. This guy, Gary, I'm still friends with him today.
Wow.
He sold me that. Yeah. He sold me my first sport bike. And it's funny. So that I got that bike, and I rode the wheels off that thing, but I just showed up one day, and I put it in the garage. So I hid it in the back of the garage, and my dad didn't use this garage. And then it was probably about 3 weeks later, my dad comes in the house, and he goes upstairs. He goes, what the fuck is that in the garage? And I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, you know what I'm talking about? That fucking bike is in the garage. And I said, whose is that? And I was like, well, it's mine. He was like, I told you can't have one of those here. And I was like, well, I can't get rid of it, so I guess it stays. And he was just like, he just, grumble as he walks out the door. He was so mad at me. He was furious. But so then, so that led into the sport bike thing, and then like riding with guys on the street, and trying to think you're fast and stuff like that, and just that kind of led into there was a bunch of these guys that I hung out with in this kind of like local, I wouldn't say it's a club, but they would go and ride on the highway, because we're kind of like right, we're smack dab in the middle between of Cleveland, Buffalo, Pittsburgh. So there's kind of like a lot of highways by us and back roads and cool twisties and stuff. So we would ride and stuff. And he was like, they always did this guys trip. They would go to Mid Ohio every year. And that's where I got the bug. So we went to Mid Ohio. And soon as I saw the racetrack, because I thought I was pretty fast on the street, and I went to the racetrack, and I fell in love. Like it was nothing but stars in my eyes. Like the first day there, I'm like, oh my God. Like I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Cause like I'd watched it on TV, but going to the racetrack and doing it, like as we do, is two different things. People don't understand like how hard it is to ride a motorcycle, and how many levels of speed, like 1 second to 2 seconds, like it's just, there's so many gaps. So
I'll interject here for a minute. Was it what you expected or not? And was it like humbling? How was the experience in general, as far as like, because Mid Ohio, I don't know about then, but like now it's pretty structured and stuff. But like, I guess, what was your expectations going into it, and how'd you feel when you were there, and kind of go on those type of things?
Well, it really, like I said, I went as a spectator, so I wasn't riding on the track or nothing.
Okay, so this wasn't an actual. You weren't going for the
Yeah,
track
this
day.
was
Yep.
AMA, like
Just
watching.
watching. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Miguel Duhamel, Doug Chandler. Like I still have the pictures from that day on an old camera film. Like I have like the actual photographs, 4x6 photographs. Yeah, we went strictly as like guys trip, get a hotel, bunk up, 5, 6 guys to a room, park the motorcycles outside, drive to the track every day, come back. Like we left on like, probably Friday morning at the crack of dawn, got there, got in the track, parked, watched the races all day, walked around the track. Yeah, and I was just like, it was so overwhelming because, like I said, I never saw. I always watched. I watched on TV. I started watching it probably like a year prior, but then seeing it in person, it just kind of blew me away. Like I was
Yeah.
just like, this is like these guys are nuts. It was a whole new like, yeah, you think you're nuts, like you're nothing. You're like the bottom of the oceans, compared to those guys. And, and even that, like I tell people, like you have guys in like, Moto America, which like the old dam is like AMA, and then you have guys like in World Superbike, and then you have guys in like MotoGP. And I can't even explain to them the level of talent in there.
Difference.
And
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
people just don't understand it. And it's like, it's like any sport though, like golf, like college football, like anything, like there's so many levels of,
Yep.
and you just can't explain it. And like I said, I was just, when I went to track and I saw that, I was like, so I went on a Friday, I was just like, nothing but like sunshine and rainbows on Friday. Saturday, I started getting the idea. It was like, I think I could do this. And then by Sunday, I was telling the guy that I bought the bike from, Gary, I'm still friends with him. And I said, hey, I think I want to do this. And he goes, are you serious? And I was like, yeah. He goes, these guys are nuts. Like, you don't want to do this. And I was like, no, like, dude, I want to do this. And he was like, you serious? And I'm like, absolutely. He goes, well, just so you know, there's a guy I know that lives right up the street from me. He used to race motorcycles. He did some clumping stuff at Nelson's and stuff. Like, I would feel more comfortable if you talk to him and he can kind of walk you through the process. So I was like, I'm sold. Like, let's do it. Monday, I'll be there after work. And he was like, all right, we'll do it. Jay called me. He goes, all right, man. So I'm going to have you come to the house. I'm going to take you up there. I'm going to introduce you to the guy. And like, it was like literally Monday after work. Like I was there at his house, like a wino in front of a liquor store at 501, like I was like, seriously, like legit, like this is it. So I go there, I meet the guy. The guy's named Sean. Still friends with him today. He's wrenched for me. He's helped me out at the track. Like I'm still friends with him to this day. So I mean, I've met some amazing people through motorcycles. It's crazy. But then, so he started walking me through the process. Like, how do you get into racing? How do you, good track days? At the time, there really wasn't track days. There was like test and tune days back at the old like fast tracks with like Bob. Can't remember what his name is. But so he kind of walked me through the process, and then at the time I got rid of that Honda F and I bought a CBR 900RR. So I thought I was like,
I had one of those. That was my second bike I ever owned.
I had the purple,
purple and green. That's what mine was.
Yeah, purple with the lime neon green. Yep. I polished the frame. Like this thing was like, so this thing was like totally gorgeous. But I had moved up like soon after because, like I said, I was hooked. I was like all in for motorcycles. And so yeah, he kind of walked me through. He's like, dude, you can't be racing this thing. Like this isn't. I'm like, no, dude. Like I want to race this thing. He's like, no, you don't want to race that thing. Like he had 900RR, same thing. He had a year previous, but he had put a GSXR front end on it because they had that really weird front wheel. They had that 16.5 front wheel, and you can only get like the Bridgestone Battle Axe, whatever that was then, and that tire kind of stunk. So he talked me out of it. He goes, I want to teach you how to do it right. And I was like, okay, I'm in. So I listened, and he was like, how about you get like a FZR 400? And you get a lightweight bike and you learn to ride. You get yourself some proper gear, I'll put you in touch and, you can get your license. So at the time I went to Rochester Road Racer School. One of the guys I think is still at the track with us at Wera, that he was one of the instructors at that thing. Wow. So, it was like a full day thing at Nelson's, in a classroom, learning flags, go down to the track, ride, prep the bike. So I did the class on my 900RR.
So that was your first track experience, was like race school?
Race school. First
Wow,
time at
that's
the track, just
crazy.
went right to race school. Yep. And I was still like at the time I was like looking for a bike, but I was like, you know what? It was like literally it was the last track day of the year. So end of September, I was like, I got to get this in. So I have a license, so I could start in April. I was like I said, I was all in. I was fanatical about it. So yeah, I took the track day on my 900 RR. There was only one other guy in the school. And like I said, it was in the class on the track, in the class on the track. And I was like, really, I thought this guy was like, because the other guy in the class, like he showed up with this like F2 like super sport bike with number plates on it and like flashy leathers. And I borrowed my suit. I had a 2-piece suit that I borrowed from a guy and some work boots so that I could
Oh,
get through this
jeez.
class. Yeah, I had like legit gloves, but I had like literally a 2-piece suit I zipped together. I borrowed because he was like, okay, yeah, we're kind of the same size. Here, put this on, And I'm like, in between, I'm like, yeah. So like I literally like threw this thing together overnight. And so they all came out. Like I had a bunch of friends that came and they were like, hey, yeah, help me. We'll put gas in the bike. We'll do this. So I trailered it up. I threw it on a buddy's trailer. We a bunch of us went out there. And I was intimidated because there were other racers. There were like real racers there. I was like super, super intimidated when I showed up because, like I said, the other guy in the class, like I could tell he didn't know what he was doing either. But like he had this like bike that
He
was
looked the
like
part. Yeah.
I would have thought he was Troy Corser. Like it was it was the craziest thing ever because like I had no idea, and you think you're fast until you go to the track for the first time.
Yeah.
And like, seeing people drag me and doing like, cause like I said, we were there during an actual track day weekend or races and stuff like that. There was actual races going on and watching these guys. Like, I mean, I was just like, man. And cause it's overwhelming. And I think a lot of people get intimidated by going to the racetrack, and because you can say a lot of things, you can do a lot of things, but once you're on the track and the rubber is on the ground, like it's either, you got to do it or you don't. And I think I was intimidated. Like I was very intimidated. I was like, man, what did I get myself into? But I was like, well, I got a race license, I went through the whole race thing and we had the mock race and start and everything like that. I almost bogged in on the start because I was so nervous, end up lapping the guy, and I was like, oh, okay, great. Like I lapped him like, okay, cool. Like, yeah, I'm not so bad, because it was like, don't come in last. Well, there's only 2 of you, you idiot, but then I spent that whole winter looking for a race bike. And then that was kind of like my process of so that was like, back then you didn't have Craigslist, you didn't have the internet, nothing like that. So like it literally was like find race bikes in the back of Road Racing World in a paper copy.
Yeah.
Like that's how you found race bikes. You'd call places and stuff like that. And there was no one really around me because everyone around me that raced was already like kind of out of it. And they were kind of like I was trying to just jump right into Wera at the time. So yeah, that was pretty much like my introduction to the racetrack.
That's
like
crazy,
2 feet.
man.
Yeah, I jumped right in the deep end, and then you find out how fast you really are or you aren't.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's
So
a far difference from how it is now, right? I mean, big time.
way different. Yeah, way different. Yeah, I see a lot of different. You got to get the progression up. You start in the beginner, you get into the novice, you get to the
You were
advanced,
like, nah, just throw it in as full racing there. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was like literally, here's your orange shirt. You got to put this on for 2 weekends and have fun. Like, but there was nothing too. Like this is like before suspension and stuff really got like really into the mix. I mean,
Like
top level
affordable for normal people. Yeah.
Yeah, and like emulators and valving and like all the things like now, like that stuff wasn't really big then. It didn't really start. I wouldn't say suspension really didn't start for a club guy to go to the racetrack. Like I wouldn't say suspension started being really big till probably like I'd say probably like 96, maybe 96, 97. That was like, and that was like the Traction Dynamics when they first started, like Max Traction Dynamics. I remember he started this new crazy company because like GMD CompuTrack came out and like Max did this thing with suspension and stuff. And yeah, it was like, that was like my first introduction of like, there's more than just twisting a throttle and like just riding a bike.
I actually went back and was watching some of his videos from like, I don't know, like 13 years ago where he was, it's a 21-part series on YouTube.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called. Something suspension for mere mortals or something like that. But I mean,
Yeah,
still,
he had like a paperback book, I
dude,
think.
I mean, it's an hour and 45 minutes or something. It's crazy long, but so much information in it of geometry and suspension and whatnot. But it's just
Yeah.
interesting because it's so old, and this guy's like the stuff still sticks to today because the stuff doesn't changes. Technology changes, but like the basics of it, which aren't, when I say basics, I mean basics of that, you know, genre of stuff, but it is not basic whatsoever. It's just it's crazy science behind that stuff. It's
Oh,
wild.
it's like 10 times what it used to be. My first like introduction into like riding and like, you know, kind of like suspension, but like throttle control and stuff was Keith Code had a book. It was
Twist of
like,
the wrist. Twist of the
yeah,
wrist
that was
too.
like the
Yep.
first book that I had read that I was like, because I was like I said, I was all in and I was like really fanatical. I was like, I want to be better. Like I'm that type of person. Like I want to be better. I want to be, you know, so reading Twist of the Wrist and like the 60-40 throttle control and how to move on the bike and how to apex and corner and turn and, you know,
That's still
it was kind of like it kind of put it all together.
that's still an amazing book, and like they actually have there's videos of it now too. Like, well, I mean, it's been around for a long time, but there's the book, and then there's a
Yeah.
video version of it, and it's still all that stuff is super good information. Like, to anybody should check it out. I mean, even if you're seasoned, like some of the stuff he just goes over. I mean, it kind of eye opener on some things that you're like didn't think about. It's good stuff.
A lot of my riding, I still do like the 60-40 off, like get my braking done first, and then I'm back on the gas a lot earlier than most people. So like I kind of still ride the same way. I mean, I ride a big bike versus I ride a small bike is a little different because your corner speed and stuff like that. But I still apply a lot of those things that I learned, you know, 30 years ago, plus, you know, and I still apply them the same way that I ride today, you know, with keeping that neutral throttle, at least that neutral throttle, especially when you're in the rain. Like you always want to be on throttle. You don't ever want to be diving the front and stuff like that. So yeah, keeping that neutral throttle and being smooth and everything that he had talked about, like I still ride like that a lot, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So how long you been coaching with us at Fast Track now?
This was my second year. Yep.
Okay. And you're
Yep.
like you're not always there. You got a business to run and doing that stuff. So you're
Correct.
I don't
Yeah.
know, maybe 60% or so of the time we'll see you there.
I try to. Yep.
Yep.
I used to coach with God, what was the guy that David that owned Chicken Hawk Racing? What was that
Yeah.
sport bike track time?
Yep.
I used to be a coach for them back in the day. So I did a lot of coaching and I liked helping people. So that's like the big thing is like helping people and
So what before you get into that, because like this is kind of one of the questions I was gonna ask, which leads into what you're talking about, but like what sparked your interest or what was the ignition to start wanting to coach?
I wanted to share the experience, like, and I'm talking everything, not just like how to go fast, but like how to be prepared at the track, how to, you know, mentally prepare yourself, but like eat right, you know, be focused, don't worry about the distractions, put the phone down, like but share the experience and like take it all in and absorb it and get the most out of it because, you know, a lot of these guys, they're not aspiring to be racers. They don't care. I mean,
Right.
I want them to be safe. And I think the big thing is like, you want people to go home at the end of the day. So I think it's most important that just having people enjoy it. And I like helping people, you know, I love talking to people about, you know, entry and apex and brake markers and stuff like that, but more just having the experience and letting them not try to be like so fast with their friend because they come with a friend. Like I hate when people come with a friend because
I
there's
agree.
this competitiveness.
Yep.
I tell people just go by yourself where you don't know anyone and just absorb it and just take it all in and just ask as many questions. I always tell people like, cause people come, hey, I got a question. It might be kind of stupid. And I'm like, hey, the
No
only stupid question is a question you know the answer to. So if you know the answer to it, that's a stupid question. If you don't, ask away. I'm yours. That's what we're there for as coaches is to help people. And I just want people to enjoy it, you know, whether it's helping them with tire decisions, gear, because I think that's another thing that's like really overlooked is like gear, good helmet, good gloves, good boots. I mean, I only have, you know, one set of hands. And what I do is very important. Same thing with you. Same thing, your noggin. You know, people don't realize having a cheap helmet is I mean, there's a lot that's connected to your helmet and your brain and your spine and everything else.
Not only the safety aspect of it though, but like, as you know, because you've worn probably all kinds of gear as well
Yeah.
as I have, like there's stuff that's comfortable and then there's stuff you get that's like, oh, this isn't going to work. It could just be a
No,
certain helmet. Like it may be the best helmet on the market, but it just
no.
doesn't work for you. And that's going to impede, how you learn and how you progress, because like if you're not comfortable in your gear or on the bike, then it's a halt to progression for sure.
Well, I always say like the AGV Pista $1,300 helmet. That's always the track day helmet.
Yeah, the Instagram helmet, bud. I have one of those actually. It's the Project 46 Rossi one, and it's expired for racing and stuff. So like it's just more of a nice shelf unit, but
yeah, I tell people all the time, like, but like helmets. There's different shape heads.
Yep.
And different shape helmets, and you got to match what's yours. And some people longer eye, lower, rounder head, small. Like I have a pretty small head, but like, yeah. I mean, it's all preference. It's definitely preference, and I think it translates to anything. Like, I'm a golfer. I like to shoot guns. I'm an elected law enforcement official, so like I like a certain gear. I'm a gear nut no matter what I'm doing, whether it's guns, whether it's motorcycles, whether it's golf clubs, whether it's paintball. Like I played professional paintball for 20 years. Like everything, I'm like a gear nut. And no matter what I'm in, like I got to have it a certain way. And same thing, like my gloves got to fit a certain way. My helmet has, but I'm like really kind of quirky like that. I'm not like OCD quirk, but like I do like things to fit a specific way. And like you said, some stuff just doesn't work. Like I know that I can't wear certain things. Like I'm not an AJV helmet guy. Like I tried them when I was a lot, but they switched and they're just so big and bulky. I just don't like them. Not saying they're not nice. It just doesn't work for me,
Right.
So
so now coach with Fast Tracks for the last couple years. What do you think? What do you enjoy about our organization, and what do you think kind of stands out compared to some other organizations? I know you obviously coach with STT back in the day, and and then
I did a couple things with N2 stuff like that,
and actually you went and done track days obviously with other organizations.
A ton of organizations. Yeah.
So
I think the big thing that stands out, I would say, is like the personal touch that we put with it. I think I'm not just saying that because I'm there. I'm saying it because like things like you said, I've done a lot of other track days, a lot of other places, and it's not like the cookie cutter assembly line kind of thing, clink, 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 clink. Like I think it's very personable, and I think the coaches, they're very approachable, which I think is really important, and I think the way they conduct the riders meetings and stuff, and having access to us. Like I was like, hey, I'm over here. I'm on the, the black trailer, the campy, come on over, talk to me, and I've had a lot of people come over and talk, and some people I see that they're very, they're timid, they're shy. I'm a timid person by nature. And that's another reason why I like doing it. Cause it kind of gets me out of my shell. I'm not a very outgoing person. I'm just kind of just the way it is. And there's certain things I've been trying to change in my life to be better about it. But like, yeah, coaching is one of them. And I'm more of a, hey, come up to me kind of guy. Like I'd love, once you start talking to me, I'm good.
Yeah.
Cause like I pitted next to you before I even started coaching, and like, I really didn't talk to you that much, and we were 10 feet away from each other.
Yeah.
And now it's like, now we talk more and stuff. I'm just not, and some people take that, they think I'm like a jerk, or they think I'm like, maybe an ass or something like that. But like, it's just me, I'm just more shy. And some people like, there's no way. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty shy as a human, but like once you start talking to me, I'm good, and I'll do anything for you. I'll help you.
Yep.
Talk to you about anything. I can keep a conversation with anyone. So yeah, but I think that's probably the biggest thing, is that it seems like the coaches are very accessible with Fast Tracks, and I think that's really good to nurture and encourage people to come out and have fun. I mean, because at the end of the day, we're spending like, I've heard him talk about it many times. Mike say, how much money it costs to be there and stuff like that. Yeah. Like, so it's very expensive. What we spend on a day versus someone else is a big difference just to be there. But yeah, I mean, you want to get the max out of it. You want to get the most out of it,
Yep. I agree.
And just be smart about it too,
Yeah, yeah. What from Fast Tracks, your time coaching there, what would be like? What's one of the highlights of your coaching experience there? Something that really sticks out in your head that was like, you just always remember that.
God, seeing some of the guys actually start racing, that's kind of cool. You see a guy as he comes up, and then next year he shows up with a race bike,
Yeah.
And there's one guy that I seen, and same thing. He was doing that. Then he had a SV. And then I think he's on like an R7 now. And it's like kind of seeing that progression of like him taking it serious and him becoming faster too.
Yeah.
So, and not throwing it down the road every weekend and wadding things up, but like the systematic approach and his progression, like that, I would say is probably one of the more rewarding things. And that's someone that I had worked with a little bit. They had come up.
The kid with the white and blue R7.
Yeah.
Forrest Griffith or something, I think his name is. Something like that.
It might be.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was like one guy, he had come up to me last year and I helped him, and then he was like, yeah, I'm racing this weekend. And then seeing him become faster, a little bit faster and stuff like that. That was kind of like a highlight to see someone progress. That was like one of the first times that I had saw that,
Yeah.
and I thought that was pretty cool. But
Awesome.
anytime someone comes up to me and says, oh man, I did that. I went, at the cone and then I came in and it just, man, what you said, that just really helped. Like anytime those are moments, like there's so many of those, but those are probably the really rewarding things. Are like where you see the light bulb go on in the head, you maybe tell them and they're like a deer in the headlights and they're like, man, I don't know about that. But then when they trust you and they do it and they're like, oh my God, they're like so excited. Like it's Christmas morning and dude, that was the craziest thing, and it's like, I didn't crash. And it's like, well, there's a lot more to go. Like, but not that I want you to do it right now, but let's do it in baby steps. But yeah, I would say those are probably the most fulfilling things. The moments when people come and tell you that what they saw or what they noticed, because you'll tap your tail and hey, follow me, and you're like, yeah, no, tap the tail. Come on. You'll do one lap and one lap again. And, then they clicks and they're like, that's what you meant. Oh, I noticed you did this. I'm going to try that next session. And then you don't hear from them. And then they come back like, half a day later and they're like, hey, I did do, and it's a little weird, but it's like, hey, everyone rides different,
Sure,
and like you said, just like helmets, just like gloves, some people, it works for some people it doesn't,
Yep. So, somebody asked this question is like, oh, do you guys still learn from each other? What's your, from other coaches and stuff? What do you say to that?
Absolutely. Just because you watch other riding styles,
exactly.
Like I've watched you in some corners when I can, but yeah, I'll watch different lines and different things because it's any track day, any race, there's always there's more than there's 12 different ways to Sunday to figure it out and try things. So yeah, I would say the big thing is like riding styles, body movement, body placement. I'm not a big hang off kind of guy, but like lines. And another thing you get to learn from watching coaches, especially coaches that race, is you get to see where you can pass them and where you can't pass them. So like you get that in the memory bank of he's really good here, he's not there good there. I know he likes to go wide here. I know I could dive underneath. So like that's kind of fun that you get that little insight with some of the guys that race, like me, you, Chris, So yeah, that's kind of fun.
Yeah, it's always it. I've tried, I've been got it. Oh, try this or try that, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But like, I always keep an open mind because there's people who've been doing it longer than I have, and there's like you talked about at the beginning, like there's so many different levels. Like it's crazy. Like when we have a pro show up, like Hayes at that, the one.
Oh my
Friday, God! I was like, this is freaking insane, man. Like that guy's a legend, and be able to see him for a moment, you know what I mean? Because like I'm not keeping up with him, but to get past and just watch, like it's insane how relaxed.
They're so smooth. They are so crazy. He shows up and he's doing eights like nothing, and he's like, it's just not really working for me. The bike, it's like, what do you mean? Like, dude, you're flying right out the gate. You've never been here before.
Yeah, to them that's like that. To us, it's like, man, I'm on the limit. It's like,
yeah, you think you literally are the limit. And like, no, you're not on the limit. You're not even close. But yeah, seeing that is always an eye opening. But you do learn from those guys, even though you get to follow them for 2-3 corners. Like, like the last endurance race, we were there for the werent. Like, you see a lot of fast guys. And I was on a lightweight bike, and you get to follow some people for some core, for some, 3-4 corners or something, even though they're on a bigger bike, but they've never been there before. But you get to see, and they kind of get a little toe sometimes that, can kind of bring you up in some spots and maybe some spots where you didn't have confidence. That's always good when you get to see some of those guys, because I've ridden with some pretty big top talent, like doing over the years with like the werent National Challenge, like we're in endurance series, stuff like that. Like, I remember one time at the Grand National, the GNF, and Vezra put in a B team into the GNF with Ben Spies and Kevin Schwantz. You want to talk about, like, I mean, dude, like, and I'm on a Kawasaki. Like, I remember I got passed 3 times in like 2 hours by Ben Spies. Like, it was crazy. And then seeing Ben Spies, and then you see, like, an hour later, you see Kevin Schwantz go by you, and he was so smooth and so crazy. Like, but just seeing those level of guys being on the track with him, and like, that's why I can't explain. Back in the day, they used to have the AMA championships, which is now, vintage days. Because it used to be vintage days, and then the AMA championships came in. So like, and then all the AMA guys would come in and ride. Like, I remember being one time on the track, because like back in the day, FCR 400 could have went on track in like a Formula 2 with a 600, and being out there with like Miguel Duhamel and like these crazy guys on 600s, just absolutely flying at Mid Ohio, and just be like, hey, I got a long ways to go. Like, I am. You want to talk about humbling? It's humbling, it's
but it's also like interesting to see, like, because I talked to Chris about this Johnston when I was talking to him, and it was like, you get to see, like, there's way more limit than you think. You know what I mean? It just all depends on your skill level and trust and whatever, but like, you can just physically see somebody in front of you that's going way faster on maybe it'd be the same tire or whatever, or similar machine, and just be like, oh, okay, I'm not anywhere near the limit. So
no, and it does. I'm kind of like, I think I was at that point, like beginning of the year, maybe the end of last year. I had that kind of that same thing where had a couple crashes, lost a little bit of confidence, was kind of like, man, I need to like reset or something. But then you get to see those moments where that guy's on the same tires, maybe he's on the same bike, and you're like parking it and he's like flying, and then that kind of gives you gets that confidence back up. And I think you need that sometimes, seeing someone faster.
For sure. So what, we'll kind of go back to the organization a little bit more with different ride. What do you think is like the number one thing for a novice rider to overcome to like make that step to go to intermediate?
I would say the biggest thing is in traffic and being close to people and not being sketch. Like when you come in and they get past, or they have someone come up next to them and stuff, they're not, they don't do this. When they, you can see it. Like, you can physically see when someone's ready and when they're not ready. And that's typically like, if they say, hey, someone's going to go out and he's looking to get the bump. Okay, cool. That's the first thing I'll do is like, hey, I'm going to let you know. I'm going to come up inside of you. I might not take the corner from you, but I'm just going to let you know that I'm there. And I want to see how he acts. And I want to see. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing, is how they stand up in traffic. Because if they can't handle that, that's a very dangerous situation where 2 people can be taken out by one guy freaking out. And, I've been pretty blessed over the years. I've had it happen to me a couple times. I've never done it to someone. But I mean, I've been passed by some guys like, oh my God, like literally I've used people as berms. They've used me as berms, but like, I've been pretty blessed to not say that, knock on wood. But I think that's the biggest thing, is just in traffic, the being smooth and not freaking out when someone's too close. If everyone holds their line, everything's fine,
So what would you say from, that bridge from intermediate to advanced? What is the number one kind of thing you've seen that people need to overcome to get, it's an average, whatever problem or whatever it may be from that intermediate to advanced?
I would say lap time consistency is probably that main thing that you notice from an intermediate rider. He might be able to do a 12, he might be able to do a 10, whatever, but can he do it lap after lap after lap after lap and hit that half second? I'll hit a race. We'll have races, and I'm within from except for the first lap, because you're starting from a dead stop, but I'll be within a half second every single lap. As being consistent. I want to see consistency. And I think that's the biggest thing is because you'll look at lap times in practice for other people. I know I do it. Everyone does it. Go over and see who's doing what and look and be like, man, he did a 23, man, he did 12 and he's down to a 10 and then he did a 17 and like, whoa, traffic wasn't that bad, especially on a race weekend. You should be able to see consistency. And to me, I would much rather be slower and have consistent lap times and hitting my marks. And to me, it's all about the rhythm. I always say it's rhythm. It's just like bing, bing. Because
automatic, right? So you're not thinking about your gear changes, your braking points. It just
Yep.
happens.
Yep. I think that's the big thing though, because people don't think about it. But like, if you strung out you strung out a track at 1.5 miles at Nelson is or whatever it is, and to be within a half a second over that 1.5 miles is a very hard thing to wrap your head around. People, it's a half second. Like a half second's a lot.
It is
at 100 average mile an hour that Nelson's is. I mean, that's a lot of feet.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
what? Man, I just had that and I think I lost it. Oh yeah, what do you think is out of all your coaching you've done there in the last 2 years, specifically at Nelson, what do you think is the on average across all, intermediate, novice, advanced, the entire thing? What do you think is the one area on the track that people struggle with the most?
I would say finding the line is probably the hardest thing for people to see. They want to hug the corners really tight. They don't want to go out wide and loop in. They want to I think I would say, and I really noticed that this last weekend, it was people just kept diving in early. And then they're standing it up and then they're coming down again and they're standing up. So I would say finding the right line. I don't think they understand the concept of, using the whole racetrack kind of thing.
Well, even with people that do, what do you think is what part of the track, maybe be like a corner or whatever, do you think is on average the most difficult to get down?
Entry.
No, I mean corner wise, what corner or whatever. You know what I mean? Out of all the corners on the track, what part of that track
at Nelson's?
Yeah.
I would say turn 4 is probably the worst for people.
Yeah.
I see so many people dive in so early there and then they stand it up. And I see a lot of crashes there this year. Like this year, I've seen more crashes there than any other corner.
It's always for. It's always for. Yeah.
I don't know why, because it's not really, and it's one of those corners I got T-boned in 4 once by a guy.
I can believe it. Yeah, for sure.
So that was when there used to be trees. When you're coming out of the exit of 4, there used to be a tree line there. I was going at the trees. There used to be a fire road that went through there. That used to be all solid trees.
Fire road's still there, actually.
Yeah, but that was the only thing that was clear. There was trees there. You couldn't see. Yeah, when you were coming through 4, you couldn't see people going down the other side. But yeah, I would say 4 is probably the worst corner that everyone screws up.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Even even really decently fast guys or rear club racers or even some Moto A guys that come there that haven't run the track, it takes a second to get that corner down to kind of figure it out and be fast there. But
yep.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I think Josh Hayes even went off there, in 4.
He might. His line is Robbie knows, and it's so fast compared to I'm not trying to be braggadocious or anything, but I usually can get most people in 4, either in the entry or whatever it is. I just most of the time I carry a little bit more corner speed into it. Just because I have confidence there for whatever reason. Robbie and Josh, their line is weird. I've never seen that line before, but man, holy crap. it's insane how much Robbie's quick no matter what, but like, and obviously Hayes, but it's just
Yeah.
wild to see that little change and difference in line. It's skill set too, obviously, but it's just crazy.
Yeah, I was watching Mid Ohio this year, and I watched a lot of those guys in the Superbike, Super Sport. So I watched their lines there at Mid Ohio, and I was like, I never thought about that. I'm like putting that in the mental bank, like ready for next year, thinking about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm going to be trying that. Like seeing a lot of passes there, and I'm like, that makes sense. Why do I not? Why am I in the middle of the track right there? Kind of, it's because the fastest way to 2 points is straight. So, and I'm making it a lot longer than it needs to be. So, but yeah, that's definitely one of those things you watch people and sometimes it doesn't make sense. You watch someone at that level and you're like, I don't understand it. I don't know how he does it, but
yeah, I've seen that quite a few times. It's like alien to me. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense, but it happens and they make it work and it's crazy and it's just like
in lap after lap they're making it,
wild.
And they're probably
stuff.
looking at us like alien, like what are those guys doing?
Yeah, and yeah. Excuse me. What do you what would be a thing you would say is for somebody that's new that's going to come do a track day with us, they've never done a track day ever, or whatever. What is like one of those essential things that's not on the common list of like things to bring that you would say, man, this is something that definitely put on your list of something to have with you that just makes the day better, or makes your time at the track better. Just it could be whatever it may be. Maybe like having a fan or something like that. Something that's outside of the normal, like bringing your gear and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I always say a canopy. Keep the sun off you, because the sun will beat you down. It will wear you down. And there's amazing how many people come to the track and don't have a canopy. Especially it was hot this summer. I mean, it was blistering hot, and that sun will beat you up. You don't think it is. You're getting burned. You're getting red. You're getting dehydrated because you don't have time to take your leathers off and on. But I would say that is a canopy would be like an absolute must. And a chair. Some people don't bring one. I see a lot of people. It's like, hey, have a seat. I can tell that they're fatigued. Like, have a seat. Let's talk. But yeah, they won't bring. A lot of people bring the food, and that's good. I like to see that. That's something I never saw before, and I see it a lot now over the years. Like, no one brought food, no one brought drinks, no one had the Gatorade and the rehydration things and stuff. Like, there's so much more of that now. But I would have to say a canopy. Like, to me, that's a number A1. I put 2 out when I'm there, and you got a huge canopy. Just like I mean, I have canopy on canopy.
Yeah. I agree. I would agree with that too. Yeah.
Yep.
There was a question that was asked, and I think maybe we'll end it here unless you got something else after this you want to speak on. But somebody asked like, oh, what's a great like track bike to have? Like if you went and did a track day and you're like, man, I want to get into this. What do you suggest? Is like, this is the good thing to learn and build your skill set on. What's a good track bike?
I always, I'm not saying it because I'm a lightweight guy. I always say it. Get on a twin, get on an SV, get on a twin, something. A little bike though. Learn how to ride. It forces you to learn corner speed because it's not fast. I always tell people, get off the 600, get off the 750, definitely get off the 1000 because you can't ride it. It's just, I've ridden those bikes over the years when I had a lot higher talent level, and the processing time from a 600 to a 750 is gap. And then from a 750 is multiplied to 1000. Like it is the speed mentally, it drains you. Yeah. And a lot of people aren't ready for it. Even, you could twist it up on the street. 1000 is great for the street because you can pass, you can get by things. But like I would say, get off the inline 4 stuff and get on a twin, get on an SV. Learn, because you're never in the wrong gear. That's what's nice about a twin is you're always in the right gear, even if you're off a gear. And most new people at the racetrack are going to be in the wrong gear most of the time. So you might as well, instead of having to bog it and then downshift and then the rear jiggling on you, you might as well just be in a bike that you could just roll it on.
I would agree with that. I was doing track days on some other stuff and had kind of like a hiatus and came back. And at that time, I was riding the RSV4 1000 16 I had,
Uh-huh.
and you know, I was doing okay. It wasn't, you know, anything amazing, but I ended up buying that Duke 390. And I was like, oh, I'm going to race this when I started racing. I'm going to race this. I don't want to race 1,000. Yeah, I'm like, it's a lot because it is, like you said, let the process, whatever. But, man, riding that little 390, I mean, that's what improved my riding. Like, you can't cover up things with that bike.
No,
Like
no.
if you're not carrying the corner speed, you're not exiting. You know what I mean? If you
Yeah.
brake too much, you can't accelerate through the corner well and
Yep.
whatever. Like it just exposes all those weak points, and then you have to. I mean, it forces you to just be faster and trust. And then on top of that, it's like those little bikes like that. Like I think the twins are great because it's a bike it's fast enough to not get tired of quick,
Yep.
and it's a little bit better, you know, just chassis and suspension, whatever. But the small bikes are, you know, it just really force you. And then on top of that, you're running on tires that are like tiny. And
Yeah.
the fact that you can make a lap time on something that's so tiny, skinny tire, it puts a lot in perspective of like, well, when I go to a better bike, that's not this
No.
little bike. It's like you have more meat. You know, there's everything there. It's like it just really puts in perspective like what the limit is on something that's up from that. So it's pretty interesting. But
Plus, it's more, the bigger bikes are more fatiguing, like throwing it around.
dude,
And when it's just, that beats you up, you know?
yeah, I hadn't been
The
on.
little bikes you can ride all day long, and then you can ride all the next day. Like I remember riding bigger bikes, and it was like, man, you got off 45-minute stint in an endurance race riding a 1000, like you're like, you know, and then your body the next day, because you're having to muscle it and clench your butt cheeks and hold on, and you know, like you're doing crazy stuff. Like, yeah, get off the big bikes. Just get on something you can just ride and not have to worry about all the crazy fancy things, and you know, ride 3 weekends on a set of tires, and you know, it's just so much cheaper.
Yeah, that the new V4 I have is like every time I get off of it, even now, I'm every all season. I'm like, this is just the most exhausting thing. Like it's been so long since I had one, and the 660 is just like it's easy to ride, it's light, it's just and the you know I had people you know I'm thinking about getting a track bike. I'm just stuck between this leader bike and this 600, and I'm like, look, dude, here's what I'll tell you. It's more rewarding to ride a slow bike fast. I mean, to put it in complete perspective, you know, doing nines on the Ducati, which I could definitely do faster. I'm just not there, but nines on it, and doing tens on a bike that legitimately is half the horsepower. You would think that I should be able to have a huge gap between that, but it's not. And it feels so much better to do a 10 on the 660 than it does to do a 9 on, you know, a bike that's just technology wise, power wise, everything is just so much higher level. Just it's you know, at our level, it's like it's unusable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's crazy.
I used to ride both the twin and a 600 when I was riding around, and I was always like 3 to 5 seconds faster on the 600. But like 3 seconds is not a lot, you know.
Depending on the track and whatever, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I was always within 3 seconds. So, and at the same bike, same person riding different, you know, just two different bikes. Yeah, I was always like right, pretty close with. But like you said, yeah, you're riding your 1 second, and you got a bike with twice the horsepower, you know?
Yeah, and I'm way more exhausted on the big bike.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Because we can do 2 days coaching, and it's no problem, you know?
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I think it covered pretty much most of the topics I wanted to kind of go over. Is there anything that you wanted to touch on before we wrap up?
I think the big thing is just for people to come out and enjoy the track, just get out and just do it. Like, you know, it's leave the family at home, leave the friends, check the ego at the door, just come out and have fun. You know, even if you are thinking about doing it and you don't want to ride, or maybe you don't have the right gear, or maybe something like that, come out and watch, ask questions, get ready. I think you'll enjoy it, you know, even if you just hang out with someone and see how they do it. But yeah, just come out to the track. You know, there's a great group of people. I've met some of my some great people at the racetrack. People that I've been friends with for forever. Like I said, the guy that sold me my first sport bike, I'm still friends with him. He goes to Mid Ohio every year and watches me race out there for Vintage Days. You know, my other guy helps me with, you know, crew chief stuff, you know, sometimes. It's just, yeah, get out and ride and just come out. And if you don't think you're ready, then don't do it. But, you know, I mean, you should explore it, I think, because coming to the track and an organization like Fast Tracks, I think Nelson's a great track. It has a great surface. You can learn so much and be a better street rider just coming to the racetrack. It makes you a safer rider too, because you learn you learn how to properly brake, you learn how to properly ride the bike, corner entry speed. You can kind of learn the limits in a safe environment. There's no cats, dogs, you know, occasional woodchuck maybe, you know, but there's no cars, there's no police officers giving tickets. Everyone's going the same direction. There's always an ambulance there. Like, what more could you ask for? Like,
Right.
You're wearing all the proper gear. You're not wearing flip-flops. Like, I mean, come to the racetrack. I haven't ridden on the street. Honestly, I have a scooter that I've maybe 1-2 rides a year. I have a couple bikes that I've been looking, but like, honestly, I haven't ridden really on the street since probably 2007, 2006.
Yep.
I just don't
I don't
just
ride on the
don't do
street
it.
anymore either.
It's
It's been,
it's
I don't
just
know, 5 or so
dangerous.
years.
It is
Yeah.
like absolutely dangerous. And people say, "Oh my God, the racetrack!" Like, no, that's the safest place you can go. I mean, riding on the track is absolutely safe. I mean, but boy, you go on a street. I mean, I live out in the country. I almost hit 2 deer in my car yesterday. It's like,
Yeah.
man, I don't want to be on the street. I really don't. I mean, I like a good street ride, maybe with some friends in a controlled pace. Like, I'd never go back to like the hooligan days and stuff like that. But like, boy, the racetrack is just such a good experience for someone that hasn't done it or is thinking about doing it. Just get out and do it. Like, you are going to meet some great, amazing people. You know, you're gonna learn a lot.
Yep.
And it might be overwhelming, but just come back and enjoy it with a good organization, a good group of people that wants to help. And I think that's probably the best bit of advice I can say is just come out and enjoy it, you know?
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yep.
Well, appreciate you taking the time to sit down and talk and kind of enlighten everybody, and maybe somebody learned some stuff from our conversation. And, you know, at minimum, they kind of get to meet you a little bit. And so if they see you the track, you know, they can approach you, and that's kind of what I do. Just kind of expose everybody to, you know, our staff and get an idea of, like, you know, our background and you know, why we do what we do, and you know, how we get the
I'm super
enjoyment out of
thankful.
stuff.
I mean, I'm super thankful that you took the lead on this. I love doing podcasts. I've done a bunch of them. But like, for you to take the lead on this and do this and take time out of your schedule to do this and set this up and everything like that, man, hats off to you.
It's really tough because it's hard to get people to coordinate, man.
Yeah,
Trust
but
me,
like, you taking the initiative and stuff for the organization, like, that's, man, hats off to you. Like, that's good. But I hope it, like you said, I hope it encourages people to come out.
Yep.
And makes us more approachable. Like, we're just human. I mean, that's all we are. Doesn't matter your skill level or anything like that. We're all here to help. Like, I mean, like, when we were there with Josh Hayes, like, Josh Hayes was talking to everyone all weekend. Like,
right.
I've talked to everybody in the world. I asked Josh about the R9. I was like, "Hey man, what do you think about the R9?" He goes, "Man, this thing's crazy. This is the craziest bike I've ever driven. This is nothing like I've ever driven before." Like, he talked to me for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, I helped him get his bike because I teched his bike, and I'm like, "Hey, we got to get this. We got to get smart TV on this." You know, I don't have a safety wire. I'm like, "Dude, you have you have Melissa's trailer. What do you mean? I don't know where she keeps everything." I'm like, "I'll get you safety wire. We'll get you out there."
Yeah, it's awesome.
You know?
The motorcycle, like the road race community and, you know, track day stuff, it's the best.
It's absolutely the best. Yeah, I've played a lot of sports, semi-pro, football, professional paintball. Yeah, I've done a lot. You know, amateur golf. Like, I've done a lot, and I would say you meet the most genuine, you know, people at the racetrack by far. People like, I'll take people to the racetrack. Like, I had a buddy come out for this last race, the Nelsons, and I was like, "Hey man, go grab my wallet. It's on the table over there." He goes, "You left your wallet on the table?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's fine. Like,
crazy.
just go grab $20 out of there and give it to that guy over there." And he was like, he could not wrap his head around that I had tools out and like thing.
Yeah.
You know, I
never really thought about that, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I've thought about it in as far as like everybody leaves their bikes out at night. No one's ever touched anything.
Ever.
And but you're right. Like you can leave basically whatever because there's just not those type of people there. People there to enjoy the sport and get along with each other. And
Yeah,
it's
and
crazy.
the people that do come, that do stuff, you don't get them back because
they're out
they ain't
quickly
welcome.
And yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're weeded out. So like it's good to know that in this day and age, in this society that we have good people at a racetrack, and thankful. Don't come by my trailer at night and look for my wallet now. But like, there's definitely just good people at the racetrack.
I agree,
Yeah, definitely on everything I've ever done, sports wise and stuff like that, organization wise. Like it's definitely a good thing.
Right on, man. Well, we'll wrap up there. I appreciate, again, like I said, you taking time out to do that, to do this with me. And we'll, I don't know when this will go up, but I'll let you know whenever it gets. I mean, sure, you'll probably see it anyways. But,
Yep.
And then we'll see you next year at the track. And I might do some other small stuff that's not so much like a background interview like we did today, but just maybe,
Perfect.
if there's some questions people have on certain things and get different people's inputs on it. Yeah, outside of that, we'll see you next year at the track, and you hit Mark up if you need some help at the track. He's always willing to help, and he knows his way around pretty well. So
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, man.
No problem, man. All right, we're gonna sign off then. All right, guys, bye.